This is Lewis, and it's been a while since I've recorded one of these advertisements. Be sure to head on over to Play Asia and pick yourself up a brand new video game. There's plenty of games coming out this month. Why not buy it at Play Asia using my affiliate link? While you're over there, be sure to pre-order Sangra Kagra Peach Beach Splash, the No Shirt, No Shoes All Service Edition, which is actually the edition that's going to be published here in North America. If you don't want to today, well, why not head on over to J-List and pick yourself up some kind of candy or something like that, considering it's October. Treat yourself. Use my affiliate link. If you don't feel like buying anything, why don't you head on over to my Patreon and support me? My Patreon videos are few and far between. You don't have to worry about being overcharged because I'll be lucky to actually do one this month at this rate. Thanks for listening, and we'll head right into the video. So this is Lewis, and I'm not currently at 100%. Not sure why that is, but for whatever reason I can just say that. However, for right now, I thought we would talk about this tweet, this video that Bernie Sanders sent out. And this is not something that he retweeted. This is not something that he just came across and reposted. This is something that he had, at least in some part, help with, because there's an emblem in the top right-hand corner of this video that says VT, meaning Vermont, and Bernie Sanders. So this is from Bernie Sanders, and I'm going to assume that he, or his campaign, or some team that he represents, made this video and published it. They didn't just publish it, they published it on his official timeline on Twitter. So this is something that I have to assume Bernie Sanders endorses. Now, if you want to ask me, Bernie, and I'll probably tweet this at you, not that I think you'll ever see it or anyone from your team will ever see it, and even if they do, I doubt they'll care, because you might be able to glean by my voice, but I'm white. So that must mean that I'm a bigot, I'm entitled, I'm a multimillionaire, I'm the son of a millionaire. All the bigoted assumptions that you make, Bernie, in this video. If you ever heard the term regressive left before, that's this video. This video is regressive. And the reason it's regressive is that it ultimately collectivizes groups of people and makes assumptions about them and makes false claims. One of the things that I can't stand about this video, and I haven't watched the entire thing just yet, but I don't see any goddamn citations anywhere. Show me the citations. Link them. So that way I know what to look at to refute any of what you're saying. So what I'm going to say right now is that I'm going to say that 100% of the statistics provided in this video are false. And it's now up to Bernie Sanders and his jerk-off team to provide the fucking citations to prove these stats true. I don't believe statistics that are used to push bigotry without citations. Provide the fucking data. However, for the sake of this actually being a commentary and not just a 1-minute long condemnation, we're going to go through this video, and what we're going to do is assume that these statistics are true. So I am, again, going to reiterate that I think they're bullshit unless they provide sources. But let's just assume that they're true. So where we start is the tweet itself. Median black family wealth, and they're going to explain what they mean by wealth. It's essentially savings, and you don't have debt. $1,700 for blacks. Latinos, which I don't know why you add the X. I'm not a fucking intersectional progressive, so, spare me the bullshit. Family wealth, $2,000. Median white family wealth, $116,800. So that is right around the amount that my family home is worth. The home that my parents took about 30-something years to pay off. That's right around the amount that that home is worth. So to say that my parents have $116,000 worth of savings, nearly $117,000, is fucking ridiculous. And this is why, if you're going to push bullshit, push racial agitation garbage, that you shouldn't say shit like this, because it is blatantly racist. Why? Because you're setting up the dynamic to say that look at all these poor fucking non-white people in this country. They're being held down by the white families, which is not the case. It is not the case that my working class family is doing anything to inhibit black families or Latino families from doing well in this country. It is racial agitation propaganda. You are attempting to create racial resentment between people like me that don't like your goddamn false propaganda and people like black and Latinos who are going to look at me and say, oh, that working class white man who worked for everything he owns. Everything I own is because of my own hard work. They're going to have them looking at me and saying, oh, he's doing something. He's getting a check cut from the fucking white supremacist government. That's the kind of shit that you're going to propagandize them, inundate them with until they believe it. And to what end? That's the question I have, Bernie. This is not going to make you any more relevant. It's not going to make you in any way better racial relations in this country. It's not going to help anyone or anything. All this is going to do is provide loser black and Latino people to feel better about their situation. That's what it's going to do. It's going to make them sit there and say, I'm not doing anything wrong. I can't be possibly responsible. I don't have autonomy. It's the white man that's holding me down. When that is not the case. That is not the case. And it has not been the case for longer than my parents were alive. That's how far back we have to go in order to find some kind of institutional barrier to what black people in particular can do. More so them than anybody. Because one of these groups that I see missing here, Bernie, that you're not mentioning, Bernie, because it ultimately completely contradicts and refutes this entire fucking argument, is Asians. Because Asians, collectively, do better than whites in this country. And by the way, some alt-right person brought up Jews in the comment section. I'm not going to here, but there's another part there that's actually very true. Jews do very well in America. And so do Asians. Asians do phenomenally well. And how come there's never been any kind of fucking, tax break or affirmative action or any other fucking handout to the Asians? The Asians never needed the handout. They came here, they worked hard, they did better than whites. So that's up to you, Bernie, to explain. You're going to have to explain that to me. If you have this dynamic of whites are the fucking bourgeoisie and anyone that's not white are the proletariat, you need to explain to me how Asians are now above that of whites on average. You need to explain that to me. How in our white supremacist society holding down the black and Latino families, how is it that the Asians are doing phenomenally well, are doing better than any other fucking racial demographic? Any other. I'd have to try to see if I can find the top 10 list. It's almost entirely Asian. You have to explain that, Bernie, if you're going to do this by fucking race. So let's just get into this fucking video.
I think the racial wealth divide is one of the greatest challenges to the American economy, and that if it's not dealt with, we won't have a strong middle class to keep the economy going.
So this is one of the problems that we have to stop and address right up front, in that you don't provide a source. And second, what about the tens of millions, 100 million maybe, white working class families? What about them? What about their wages? What about their savings? What about their wealth, quote unquote? What about them? What about them, Bernie? Jesus Christ, what is wrong with you? What the fuck is wrong with you to push this kind of regressive propaganda? I thought you were above this. I am ashamed to see you posting shit like this. This is nothing more than race-baiting bullshit. This is unbelievable, Bernie. You should fucking have trouble sleeping after publishing something like this. It is disgraceful.
Wealth, which is all your assets minus your debts, so your home minus your mortgage, your student loans, so on, is what's left over, and that's that wealth. And so wealth, unlike income, can really kind of give us a better picture of what a family's long-term economic security looks like.
Most Americans now don't have the $68,000 we think is needed to even get into the middle class. The median wealth for Americans right now is only $64,000.
That's more money than my family has in savings. I don't have 68 fucking grand in savings. I have far less than that. I'm going to be struggling to see if I can buy my own home because of all the taxes and bullshit
you know, even just beyond the mortgage, all the shit that comes with it. I'm going to be struggling to buy my own home. I feel lucky that I've been able to work hard enough to have that opportunity, unlike all the fucking deadbeats all over this country that can't get their shit together, can't take responsibility for their own actions and their bad purchases and their bad behaviors to actually save that kind of money in order to move into their own home, to own their own home. I can't help it that you're living paycheck to paycheck in an apartment. That's not my fault. That's on you. It may be because of circumstances outside of your own behavior, your own choices, and the rest. It might be just because you grew up poor and you're struggling. I can't do anything about that. There's nothing that I can do in this situation to help you. Maybe we can work behind the scenes to try to get you a better job. I can try to work my connections. You can work yours. We try to get you into a better job, not based on merit, but based on fucking nepotism or cronyism or whatever. Maybe we can do that to try to better your situation. But if not that, then you just have to work harder. Like, what do you want to do here? What do you want to do? Because I don't hear anything. I don't hear anything. But let's just continue.
And that's a decline from a little over 75,000 30 years ago. And we see that where most of this decline is happening, we think what's leading it is African American and Latino wealth.
40 years from now, black households at the median are projected to have zero wealth. 20 years after that, Latino households at the median would have zero wealth. That's assuming that everything stays constant. But given some of the policies that are currently being advocated and rolled out by the current administration.
Name one. Don't just give me a fucking vague platitude. Give me one. Do you mean deportations, which Barack Obama set a record for? Do you mean that? Is that what we're talking about? People that aren't legally allowed to be here, staying here, and are now being kicked out because, again, they don't have the legal means to stay here, and they've been sitting on their ass and not pursuing the legal means to stay here. Is that what you're talking about? I don't fucking think it is, and if it is, it's bullshit. But what else? What are you gonna? What has Donald Trump done to inhibit black people and Latino people from working harder? What has Trump done? Name me what it is. Name me something that Trump himself, the current administration, as you put it, name me something they've done to inhibit black and Latino people from working harder and making more money. Working longer hours, making more money. Working overtime, having tons of money. Tell me what it is.
No American has recovered from the Great Recession in terms of wealth, which is why I think all of us are feeling economically insecure. But white wealth has never been below what it was in 1983, unlike African Americans and Latinos.
Given that tax reform is a timely discussion topic happening here on Capitol Hill, I think we should look at the tax code and think about ways of reforming current policies to be able to provide that boost and additional support to low wealth households.
So why is it that my father, for example, can get injured and be taken out of his field? He was a tradesman, and he worked very hard. He made a lot of money for a short span of time up until he got injured. And it really fucked his life up and fucked up our family situation monetarily. But you know what he did? He got off his ass and he got another job in another field. It's very close to, in terms of the relationship of what he used to do, because he was a tradesman, but he's limited in what he can do. Why is it that he can do that? He can go through that whole roller coaster in his life and do well still. Own a brand new vehicle, own his own home. He's relaxing on his day off. Why is it that he can live a fairly comfortable life and not have to worry about debt or whatever? Why is it that he can do that? But for some reason, blacks and Latinos can't do it. I don't think that's the case. I think blacks and Latinos are perfectly able to work hard and have a good life, have a comfortable life, if they work hard enough. The problem, in my opinion, is that there's enough fucking people in this country that don't work hard enough, that they're unfortunately a demographic. There's this demographic, and unfortunately, it can be described racially. I wish it weren't the case, and I say this all the time, I wish that we would have equality or equity when it came to political beliefs. We'd have as many white conservatives as white liberals or what have you at this point. And we'd have many black conservatives, many Latino conservatives, many Asian conservatives, and they do exist. But if you look at the demographics, it seems to be that, especially with black women, you can just describe black women as Democrats because it's almost 100%. Again, I wish it were not the case because I unfortunately think that's a lot of groupthink. I'd rather it be actually more diverse in terms of political beliefs. But there's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do. That's the whole issue here, Bernie Sanders, that you can label people, you can showcase statistics based on race. What do you expect me to do about that? What do you plan to do? Obviously nothing, otherwise you might have voted on something to do it. Introduced a bill, but you can't. You can't do it. There's nothing you can do. You're not going to address the things you should address about these communities and crime rates and pregnancies and births out of wedlock and bad choices, bad behavior, all the rest. It doesn't account for everything, as I just said. Some people are unfortunately victims of their circumstances, and it can't be helped. Other than they can work really, really hard, or again, I can try to game the system to get them a job. This is what I'm talking about. There's no solutions here. You're just pushing racial resentment. Like, that's all this is. I mean, this is the whole fucking thing. It's like, you already have scholarships and universities and even employers going out of their way to hire people that are not white. They're going to hire probably Asians because they can say, oh, well, it's not a white person, and they're going to work twice as hard as a white person, and that way we get the profit and the productivity, and we also can say we're not 100% white. That seems to be what a lot of employers are doing, especially in the tech sector and others as well, such as medicine and others. They just hire Asians because chances are you're going to get a hard worker. Obviously, there's a lot more to it than that, but you're the one that's making this racial. Remember, I'm an individualist. I see everyone as an individual. It doesn't matter to me what their skin color is. It's their character, their skills, their ability to do the job, and their personality. Like, there's so many factors that one can measure about an individual, and yet you're trying to make this just about race. And it's like, okay, let's just make it about race. Asians do better than whites. Jews do better than anybody. If you want to make this about race, it doesn't say anything about white supremacy or whites being anything in terms of inhibiting others. It just says a lot about whether someone is willing to work harder than other people. They're willing to go farther to get a job that may not even be that good, but they're willing to work at it, work hard at it. It says a lot about that. Because, as I'm going to say, until it stops being true, Asians do better than whites on average in this country. Explain that in comparison to blacks and Latino. Like, if you want to fucking go down this road, Bernie Sanders, you're going to be confronted by the fact that this is not about the institutions, this is not about anything. This is about mentality. This is about how willing you are to work hard and to make the right choices, not make stupid choices. Don't get into fights, don't sell drugs, don't do drugs, don't be lazy, get a goddamn job, work at it, and everything else. All of the fucking, if you're going to stick your dick in a girl, wear a condom. This shouldn't be that complicated, and yet there's a fucking huge issue in the black community, especially with fatherlessness and out-of-wedlock pregnancy. Just put a condom on. There's half the fucking problem right there. Oh, man, I'm going to raise the wealth by forcing through the law for black men to wear a goddamn condom and for black women to be on fucking birth control. There's the whole issue. Let's do something authoritarian. Well, there it is, Bernie. You want to do that? You want to do something like that? Or are you going to give them the freedom to make stupid choices and just have to accept that, unfortunately, with a lot of black people, it's disproportionate that they're going to be poor because of their own stupid decisions? What do you want me to do about that? What can you possibly do that's not unbelievably authoritarian in order to correct it? Explain it to me. Or is not just more of the same, more of the status quo, discriminating against whites? I'm going to love the day when progressives finally realize that they're going to have to discriminate against Asians too. Because that's where we're headed. You know this, I know this. Asians do better than whites. You know that eventually you're going to have to discriminate against them too. Asians are going to have to go, especially Indians. They're going to have to be discriminated against in order to try to prop up somebody who's not qualified for the position.
Class didn't just appear. It wasn't just through market forces that all of a sudden this country had become majority middle class. Actually, more money that was spent on the reconstruction of Europe was spent in creating an American middle class in the 40s, 50s, going into the 60s. But of course, people recognize in the 40s and 50s was a time of legal segregation. We need a 21st century investment because we have a whole new America, a very different America demographically, and we haven't done on that type of investment.
Again, like this is the dynamic of whites as the bourgeoisie and blacks as the proletariat, or blacks and Latinos. That's the dynamic you're setting up here. When it's like, okay, yeah, there's a lot of rich people living in Orchard Park, Williamsville, not necessarily well, you don't know Williamsville, so it doesn't matter, but Orchard Park. A lot of rich people living in Orchard Park. A lot of rich people living in Buffalo. Do you think they just stumbled upon the money? The government, the white supremacist government, Donald Trump cut them a check? Is that how they got the money? No, I don't think so. It was by generations of people making decent choices, working very hard. Very few rich people in this country are career fucking criminals like from GTA 5, all right? There's a lot of goddamn people that earn their money through working hard. There's a lot of capitalists, like Mitt Romney, for example, people that are actually capitalists, making money based on investments. There's a lot of people like that. Are you going to say that they're not entitled to that money? Maybe you can say we can tax more. We can raise taxes and capital gains and whatever. Fine, that's not what you're advocating here. And what are you going to do with the money? What are you even going to do with it? Again, is it going to be the authoritarian measure of buying fucking birth control for black women? Is that going to be what we do here? Or for Latina women? Is that what you're advocating here? Like, what do you expect to do? I don't like plenty of rich people. I think a lot of rich people are fucking up their own ass and are cunts. But they know how to make money in large part. That's one of their specialities. It's not being down to earth and being actually human. They do pretty poorly in that, but making more money for themselves, they do well with that. What am I supposed to do about that? Am I going to fucking lynch them for that? Am I supposed to resent rich people for that? And I'm getting off, course here, but it's like nothing you're offering here is any kind of solution. You're just stirring racial resentment. And it's not even the dynamic of which I wish it were. If you made a video about class, I would be on board. I am that kind of traditional leftist. I don't have a problem with having a class dynamic in terms of an argument. I have no problem with making that position. I know that there's conservatives that don't like that. They don't like limiting things by class. But I think that's a worthwhile conversation and argument to have. I'm willing to engage with it. I'm willing to collectivize to some extent in relation to class. But you're not doing that here. You're just making it about race. And that's completely fucking inappropriate.
We have to start not only thinking about universal policies.
So, we're back to this guy again, and we're talking about universal policies. All right, let's hear it, bro.
Start not only thinking about universal policies so that they can be able to touch all families and all households of color, but also kind of targeted policies that not only allow you to have access to that policy, but allow you to get additional support and benefits to be able to build up that economic security.
Okay, that's exactly what I thought it would be. You are trying to reward people that are fucking dysfunctional, and you're making it racial. What is wrong with you? We're gonna make it universal, and by universal, I mean explicitly fucking discriminatory. God, what is fucking wrong with these people? They know the language they're supposed to use. That's why they love equality. They love the idea of using the word equality when they mean equity. That's what they mean. They mean equity. Not, having the same opportunity. That's not what they mean. They're looking at the conclusion. What you're getting as a result. They're not looking at, hey, can this black person become a professor? Yes. I've had black professors. Can this black person, get a degree? Yes. I've met black people that have far more advanced degrees than I do. Can black people work hard and do better because of their own work? Yes. I have people within my own company who are not white that do very well because they work their asses off. They work way harder than I do, and guess what? They're wealthier than me.
The tax code is the #1 kind of source of investment in wealth today. We've had studies that over $650 billion a year are invested in wealth development. The problem is this $650 billion disproportionately goes to the wealthiest Americans.
You don't make any sense. All right, I'm willing to go there with you. I'm willing to say that there are subsidies for rich people in this country. Lay it out, because I can't follow this vague shit you're saying. You're using vague terminology for a reason. Stop obfuscating. Just lay it out. I'm willing to have the class argument with you. God damn. Why can't this just be the fucking dichotomy? The left talks about class. The right tries to argue class from another angle. Why can't that be the fucking dichotomy? Why can't it be an argument about class? I'm more than willing to do it. But unfortunately, every fucking public intellectual that's even center-left just barely touching the fucking left at all is a fucking racial lunatic. They have to make everything fucking racial. It's consumed the entire fucking left. Name one prominent leftist that's not like fucking Sargon or somebody like him on fucking YouTube that is not explicitly pushing racial resentment bullshit as some kind of economic policy. Find me the fucking person. Even Tulsi Gabbard is doing this shit. It's consumed the entire left to talk about racial baiting bullshit. And it doesn't push us any further. I don't know if you've checked Congress, you've checked all the major institutions and checked the White House. There's fucking fewer and fewer Democrats as the years progress. Take a look at the state houses, you goddamn idiots. This is not a winning strategy, and it's because your bullshit propaganda doesn't reflect reality, and people don't like you pushing this propaganda. They don't like you pushing racial resentment. I can't tell you how many people I've met in my life, white, black, any kind of color, saying that they don't like this kind of shit. They want to live in an egalitarian society where everyone is treated equally, no one's discriminated against or discriminated in favor of because of whatever bullshit reason. They just want to be treated as individuals. I've met enough people that don't even know what individualism is, but still regard that principle of egalitarianism as better than any alternative. Why can't you push for that? How many fucking millennials that I've met that are politically apathetic, that are still overtly egalitarian? They will say that they're an egalitarian, not just by the label, but they will explain that they are not bigoted. They don't like bigotry. They don't like favoritism. They don't like discrimination. They don't like any of it. My whole life, I don't know if I've met 5 fucking people that are bigoted in comparison to just about every fucking pundit in the left. Name me a fucking politician that's a Democrat that's not overtly fucking racist about all of this. That's not baiting until the end of time. God, you fucking people are worthless. You're just fucking worthless. If we want to just take this as cynically as we can, as just through the lens of power politics there, Bernie, which I know progressives love to do. That's how they fucking dichotomize and look through and address everything, is through the lens of power politics. Let's take a look through that lens, okay? Democrats lose and lose and lose and lose and lose. And are they gaining demographics or losing demographics? Well, let's check the last fucking presidential campaign, which should be in favor of Democrats. Oh, they're losing! They're losing more and more fucking people. More and more people that are everyone other than white, including whites, are going to either independent, they're becoming independent, or they're going to the Republican Party. What the fuck do I need to say? What fucking proof do I need to show you? What can I do to just get these people, including you, Bernie, to let this all go? Progressivism is a cancer that is killing the left. Bernie Sanders, you should have been a reformer, not just for the country, but for this fucking political alignment. And now you're here espousing the exact same shit that is not helping it's not helping the left, it's not helping the Democrats, it's not helping anyone, including blacks and Latinos. You know how I can help blacks and Latinos? Giving them a condom and a fucking job application. That's how I can help them. Outside of that, I can't do anything. So shut up with your racial demagoguery, your fucking bullshit, your propaganda.
When we're looking at cutting out massive amounts of funding and putting additional restrictions on current safety net programs that help families, we can only imagine that the racial wealth divide is going to get exponentially worse.
Our concern is that with the ongoing racial wealth divide and with the population becoming more and more filled with people of color, that the country is going to lose whatever remnants it has of the great American middle class, which was a great white American middle class in the 50s and 60s.
There's so much that our government subsidized during that time that was based around the military, and we still do that. And guess what? The fucking economy is not perfect. It's very good if you're a capitalist, an actual capitalist. If you want to make some money investments, it's a great time to live. But if you're somebody that's on the ground who's just working class, it's not a great time. And you don't actually propose anything to deal with that. You're in favor of globalization. You're in favor of neoliberal fucking economics. There's no way you're not. I've met enough progressives, I've listened to enough progressives, I've dealt with enough progressives and understand what they believe enough to know that you're not against globalization, you're against protectionist policies. I know that fucking Kyle Kalinske can come out and say whatever limp-wristed shit he wants to. He is full of shit. All progressives ultimately believe in the cheap iPhone argument. That is what they believe in. It has become the orthodox for them. It has become accepted by them. And so as it relates to, let's say, deporting people that shouldn't legally be here, that are worsening wages, and that are providing cheap labor for corporations, you're not in favor of kicking them out. Progressives aren't. But my point being that in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, it was people actually doing the work that was generating the wealth. It wasn't just the government. The government did spend a lot of fucking money, but it doesn't just generate money from nowhere. It has to tax people. And the reason it got a lot of fucking money through taxation was people were generating a lot of wealth. The government doesn't just invent wealth. It can print as much money as it wants, but, or at least the Federal Reserve can. It's actually separate. But the point being that the government just, it can't create wealth. It has to tax people. It can have programs and whatever that it can try to raise money through. But the majority of the revenue, as far as I'm aware, is actually taxing people. And through that, you're taking wealth from your own population. Now, I'm more than willing to say that that's worthwhile, that that's necessary, considering the world that we live in. We want to live in a civilized, non-utopian world. Taxation is necessary. But the fact is that those people, the people in your society, the citizens, are generating the wealth. That's where you're getting the money from. People always argue about, oh, redistribution of wealth or whatever. It's like, okay, but the government can only fucking redistribute in so many different ways. We're never going to have a tax code unless fucking lunatics take control, which they never will, because progressives are on their way out, if you haven't noticed. But the only way that you're going to ever change this is if you give lazy fucking black people and Latinos benefits for just being lazy. And as though that's going to incentivize them to do anything different, to work any harder. It's not. You don't incentivize people to be how they are. You incentivize people to change when they are, as a racial demographic, as you've laid out, completely fucking dysfunctional. Again, I've met black people that are far richer from me, from fucking upper middle class families. I've met them, whether I was at UB or Buff State. I met rich black people. So it's not as though that somehow racially they can't do it. No, it's a matter of, unfortunately, enough people from this one group just not being productive, not making the right choices, not actually taking advantage of the opportunity around them, even if it's finite, even if there's not a lot. It doesn't excuse not taking advantage. So no, you don't reward people for acting in a dysfunctional manner and not being productive. You don't reward that. This was such a fucking abortion of a propaganda piece. And again, like, the fact that I fucking voted for this guy, and this is the route he's going, he's continuing to become a fucking progressive. And I know people can argue whatever, they can say whatever they want to about him. Like, this is some of the most regressive shit I've ever seen him post. And this is not the way to go, Bernie. Stop doing it.